Open heart, open mind. Welcome to the Sattva channel, the official platform of the Sattva project. I'm Sherabong, the co-founder of the Sattva project.
Myself Samiksha Mishra, and I am from the Sattva Youth, which is an official online platform of the Sattva project.
The Sattva project wishes to bring together a diverse groups of leading spiritual leaders, teachers, scholars, experts who are committed to transformative spiritual and social change. So today we are going to have a guided Zen meditation uh, guided by Myong An Sunim. So before we start our program, I would like to express our thankfulness and gratitude to the man behind the scene, who is our broadcast director today, Brother Ray. Ray, would you like to say hi to everybody?
Welcome and thank you for joining us. Please like and share this video. And if you are watching this on YouTube, do subscribe to our channel. Now back to you.
Thanks, Ray. So let us. I would like to invite Samisha now to introduce to us the background of Myong An Sunim.
Myong An Sunim, usually called Sunim, was born to a Chinese family in Malaysia in 1959. He has received his education in the UK, culminating with an MBA, and worked in finance. Sunim met his teacher, Zen master Seung San, in 1992. He became a monk in 1997 and spent the subsequent 16 years in Korea on intensive Zen retreats. He received Inca, the authority to lead retreats and teach Khonans. In 2015, Sunim has over 30 years of meditation experience and teaches in Penang and internationally. His teaching approach combines the wisdom of the ancient teachers with the science of meditation to arrive at ways of practice that are well suited to our contemporary lifestyle. It's honor to welcome you, Myung An Sunim.
Hi, good evening. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Sattva, and thank you very much, Misha, for the very kind introduction. So tonight, I thought that we can do a short meditation to help us cultivate a little bit more patience. So we'll be emphasizing just trying to pause as a way to create more space in our mind rather than speed, rather than rushing. Because it's very easy to get caught up in the extremely fast pace of our world. Without even knowing it, we speed up, even if it wasn't our intention. And then sometimes we can blame ourselves for being so impatient, for not having patience to wait. So if we learn to pause mindfully, and then we can create a space to help us kind of counteract the rushing and the speed, then patience can arise more easily, more space in our mind, in our heart, and that's how patience can arise. So let's get started and find a comfortable position for yourself. Alert but relaxed. So close your eyes. If you prefer to keep them open, then just open them slightly and gaze downwards with a soft focus. Now, take a few moments to get settled. Notice the sensation of your body breathing. Are you already rushing to settle down? If that's the case, just allow yourself to relax. There's no need to go anywhere. There's no need to be anywhere. Just relax and settle. Feeling the breath, bringing your awareness to the full in breath and the full out breath. resting in the spaciousness of the moment. Soften your arms, soften your jaw, relax your face, soften your belly. Can you give yourself the space to pause in this moment, to be in this moment, and not rush into the next one or rush into the next breath? So without rushing, see if you can bring your awareness to the breath, settling in to the body breathing and coming back to it every time that your mind wanders off. Coming back gently without judgment or expectation. Can you be with each in breath and each out breath with a sense of patience? Maybe you're rushing into the in breath, or you're waiting for the exhale to release your breath. If you notice that happening, see if you can again pause, make some space, soften, and relax to the moment. So, as we come to the end of this meditation, can you consider pausing, making some space so that you can allow your patience to arise in the midst of your daily activities? Try that and see what happens. When you're ready, open your eyes and bring your attention back to the room again. And thank you for your practice. So, for the next part of our session tonight, we're going to talk a little bit about special transmission outside of the sutras. So, long time ago, during the Buddha's time, the Buddha was at a place called Vulture's Peak in India, a quite famous place, I'm told. Anyway, then a whole assembly of monks gathered there to listen to the Buddha Buddha giving a speech. More than 1,200 monks went. So the Buddha sat on the peak and then stayed silent, didn't open his mouth. 1 minute passed, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, almost 5 minutes passed, and still the Buddha did not open his mouth. He just sat there. And then some of the monks started to fidget and began wondering, what's wrong with the Buddha today? Why is he not saying anything? Is he a little sick or some problem with him? And whilst they were kind of, whispering amongst themselves, the Buddha still sat still. Then, after some time, he reached down and picked up a flower. Then, without a word, he held this flower up in the air. Then all the monks and lay people saw this, and nobody understood. What is the Buddha doing, holding up his flower, not saying anything? Then, sitting kind of far back, was Mahakashapa. He saw the Buddha holding up the flower. He smiled. The Buddha saw him smiling and said, I have the eye of the true law, the secret essence of nirvana, the formless form, and the ineffable realm of Dharma, without depending on words or speech, a special transmission beyond all teachings. This I pass to you, Mahakashapa. Then that was the sign that Mahakashapa was being recognized as the Buddha's first successor in the teaching lineage. And that comes all the way down to us today. So that simple gesture, not opening his mouth, just holding up the flower, and Mahakashapa understanding, that was this mind-to-mind connection. That the Buddha showed that this understanding truth doesn't depend on some high learning or complicated philosophy. And it doesn't require explanation. It doesn't require you to get a PhD. Just see, just hear, just smell, moment to moment. That is the wonderful Dharma that this whole universe is giving to us. So the Buddha held up, he was silent, didn't open his mouth at all, held up this flower. And then Makashapa saw it and went, Makashapa smiled. He understood just from seeing the Buddha's actions. But then what was transmitted? The Buddha said, the special transmission outside of the sutras I give to you. So that is a very interesting point, interesting question. Makashapa understood. But in this transmission, the Buddha pointed to some truth. But there might be a little problem with this Buddha speech after he said it to Makashapa, because already Makashapa understood. What if Makashapa said, no, thank you, Buddha. I already understand. I don't need your Dharma transmission. What then? So that's very interesting. So what could the Buddha actually have transmitted to Makashapa at that point? So this teaching, his action is already the transmission, this flower. It's mind-to-mind transmission. But actually, saying that I've transmitted to you, we say in Zen, is like painting legs on a snake. So Makashapa was very, very polite. He said, thank you to the Buddha, but he could have said, oh, no, thank you. I already have the Dharma. Your Dharma is not necessary. So if at that time Makashapa said that to you and you were the Buddha, what would you have done? You say, I give you my Dharma. Then somebody says, no, thank you. I already have the Dharma. I don't need your Dharma. Then you're the one. You're the Buddha. What can you say? That's an interesting point. And that's also one of our koans. So finding our true nature is not dependent on any kind of explanation, not dependent on the sutras or intellectual knowledge. It actually is dependent on experience, practice and experience. So once you practice for some time, you will begin to experience your own true nature. And then you can be like Makashapa. You understand. You see clearly, you hear clearly, and you just get it. So Zen teaching is basically like this. It's experiential. That means somebody is hungry and they want to eat something. So you have some bananas. You just give them banana, peel it, eat it, rather than explain what the banana is, what's it all about. You just give it to them and let them eat it. That's the direct experience. So that's all it is. Just experiencing this moment, being present, experience this moment to moment. So even if you have a very deep understanding of some teaching, but you cannot you don't get your own, you don't have an experience of your true nature, then it's very difficult to really share the true teaching of the Dharma. So that's an interesting story about this. Famous sutra master lived in China a long time ago. His name was Dok San, and he was famous for his deep knowledge and understanding of the Diamond Sutra. Diamond Sutra is one of the few sutras in the Zen tradition that people focus on. Diamond Sutra, Heart Sutra. So he would travel from temple to temple, teaching monks and nuns about this sutra and the subtle teachings in it. And he would test them, challenge them in their knowledge and understanding. And of course, he always won because he was the the greatest Diamond Sutra master in the whole of China. So everybody was scared of him. Nobody dared to kind of debate him about his knowledge. So then one day, he heard about Zen temples in the south of China, where the monks didn't study any sutras. They just ate, slept, and then sat in meditation all day facing a wall. And then he heard some of these monks actually attained enlightenment. And he thought, that is totally wrong. That is crazy. How can they do that? They don't even understand the Buddhist sutras. How can they get enlightenment? So he got very kind of, we say, energy up, very agitated. And he decided, okay, I'm going to go down there and teach these errant monks, these monks who don't know anything. I'm going to teach them about the Diamond Sutra and set them on the right path. So he very determined. He packed all his commentaries, all the commentaries he wrote on the Diamond Sutra, plus copies of the Diamond Sutra, into his backpack, kind of this wooden bamboo backpack, and then started to head south. So I will hit them with this Diamond Sutra teaching and wake them up to the Buddha's teaching. He was very kind of, excited about it, very, very energy up. So he traveled, walked many days, quite fast at the beginning. Then one day, while walking down the road, old country road, he started to feel very hungry. Then he saw a small tea house in the distance. So as it was lunchtime, he decided to stop and to eat. And then this owner of this tea house was actually a very devout old Buddhist lay woman. She practiced very hard every day. Then she saw him coming. She recognized him as this famous Diamond Sutra master. So she greeted him and asked, "Oh, great master." Very polite, very respectful. "Oh, welcome to my humble tea house. How can I help you?" So the Dharma Sutra master said, "I'm fine, thank you. I'm a little hungry today, right now. I'd like something to eat." "Oh, okay. But where are you going? You seem to be in quite a rush, So, well, I heard that there is some temples in the south where the monks only eat, sleep, and then sit all day facing the wall. And then people say some of them actually get enlightenment, attain Buddhahood. That's crazy. I'm going to go down there, hit them with the Diamond Sutra's teachings, and wake them up." Then the Buddhist layman said, "Oh, that's wonderful. That's really wonderful. You're such a compassionate sutra master. You understand all the Buddha's teachings. You understand the Diamond Sutra. So, can I ask you a question?" Then this kind of surprised him. He says, "Of course, ask me any kind of question." Then the laywoman kind of smiled and said, "Okay, if you can answer this question correctly, then lunch is free. But if you cannot answer correctly, you must pay for your lunch." So when Doksan heard this, he got very angry, because he was this famous sutra master. People would fall over themselves to offer food to him. Then he said, how dare you speak to me like that? Do you know who you're talking to?" But the woman was like, she had a very strong center, so not moved by his drama. So, "I just want to ask you a question, that's all." Then he said, "Okay, just ask me anything." So she said, in the Diamond Sutra, it says, present mind cannot get enlightenment, past mind cannot get enlightenment, future mind also cannot get enlightenment. So, great Diamond Sutra master, What kind of mind will you have? Will you use to eat lunch? What kind of mind will you use to eat lunch? Then Doksan heard this, then he was shocked. He'd never heard a question like this before. Usually people would ask about the intricacies of the Dharma Sutra. And then he went, in his mind, it's like a high-powered computer going through all his data files. What kind of mind do I use to eat lunch? What does it say in the Dharma Sutra about eating lunch? And he went round and round, and nothing. There was no information about eating lunch in the Dharma Sutra. Then he thought and thought and thought, and he was stuck. And he got very embarrassed. His face went red. Then kind of all the color drained out, and he realized that he couldn't answer. He was completely shocked. Then he tried to open his mouth, but nothing came out. Couldn't say anything. He didn't have the answer. So the woman sort of laughed and said, you don't understand the Dharma Sutra's true meaning. You don't understand anything. You only understand the Buddha's speech. You don't understand his mind. If you cannot answer this question, then how are you going to go to the south, the temples in the south, and hit these monks with your teaching? So when he heard that, he suddenly lost his hunger. He wasn't hungry anymore. He lost his kind of arrogance, and he felt a little ashamed because he couldn't answer this simple question. What kind of mind will you have to eat lunch? So then he asked her in a very small voice, where did you get this understanding? Then the woman, also realizing that he had already become very humble, said very kindly to him, I didn't get this understanding from anybody. Everyone has it inside them, if they only look. Yes, but who guided you? Who taught you? Then she said, I'm a student of this great Zen master, Myong An, who lives on a high mountain in the next province. If you ask him, maybe he'll help you. So, being totally defeated and actually quite ashamed, quite humbled by this, just laywoman who ran a tea house, not any superior sutra master, he gave up his plans. He realized she was right. I don't know. So how can I go and teach these monks in the temples in the south? So he decided to go east to find Zen Master Myong An. So after many weeks of travel, he arrived at the temple and asked to meet Zen Master Myong An. And he was given an audience pretty quickly. Then they had tea together. Zen Master offered him tea, and Doksan was very keen to impress the Zen Master with his knowledge and understanding, wanting to show how deeply he understood the Dharma Sutra. So he talked and talked and talked, non-stop, almost non-stop. And the Zen Master could only say, yes. He couldn't get a word in edgeways. Finally, after hours of talking, Doksan talking, the Dharma Sutra Master talking, it got late and got dark. Then the Zen Master says, it's late, it's dark, it's time for you to rest, you've had a long day. So then the Dharma Sutra Master, yes. Then the Zen Master said, well, tomorrow we can continue, talking. So then Dharma Sutra Master got up, paid his respects and turned around to leave. Then as he opened the door, he saw, it's completely dark outside. Completely dark. Couldn't even see your palm in front of your face. And he turned around and said, it's dark, there's no light. Can I have the light? So the Zen Master got this kind of candle, actually a wick, and lit it, and then extended his hand to pass it to Doksan, the Dharma Sutra master. And Doksan went to get it. And as he held it in his hand, the Zen master leaned forward and blew out the light, blew out the candle. And then Doksan saw this, experienced this, and boom, his mind opened. He got enlightenment. Then Doksan saw this and realized, he got it. Then he said, "What do you understand?" Then Doksan said, "From now on, I will believe the teachings of all the Zen masters in the world." And then the next day, the Zen master called his students, all his monks, to an assembly. And in front of them, he introduced this Dharma Sutra master, now named as Doksan. He said, "Among you, there is a great man whose fangs are like swords and whose mouth is like a big blood pot." Sounds fairly gory, but that's the metaphor he was using. "You may strike him with a stick, but you will not turn his head. One day in the future, he will make his way to the top of a very high mountain." Then, after he said that, Doksan got all his notes, his commentaries on the Dharma Sutra, and made them into a pile. And then he got a torch and burned them, all of them. And he said, even though one may completely master the various profound philosophies, it's like placing a single strand of hair in the vast sky. Even if one gains all the essential knowledge in the world, it's like casting a drop of water into the deep canyon. Then he watched all his commentaries, his notes, the Dharma Sutra just burned down. And then he bowed gratefully to Zen Master Myong An. After that, he went up into the mountains and continued his practice. So that story illustrates that understanding is not enough. It's helpful, but practice is very important. So if you attach to your understanding, that becomes a hindrance to us. So it's very easy to do that, to attach to understanding, because it's a very natural path for us to go down. It's a path of least resistance, put it this way, because we've been taught to understand everything from school onwards. From school, juniors, kindergarten, school upwards, you have to understand this, understand that. But this practice is counterintuitive. It's not about understanding. It's about experiencing. It's about actually experiencing things for yourself. So that's the important point. And you can understand many things, but your understanding of one thing, even if it's the same book, and somebody else reads the same book, they may have a different understanding. Then you start to argue. So it's very interesting. One of my Dharma brothers, very, very smart man, monk, before he became a monk, he wanted to study law. So he got into graduate law school at Yale, which is a famous university in America, where Bill Clinton attended and became a lawyer, got his law degree there. So he wanted to find out the truth, because that's what the law is, about finding out the truth in whatever situation. So when he attended law school, attended a few lectures, then he became very shocked and very disappointed and a little depressed, because he realized law school wasn't about determining what is the truth. Actually, it was about who has the better argument and who can win. So that's all it was about. In court, it was about who can argue the best and win. Doesn't matter what the truth is. Then he thought, this is bullshit, What can I do? That's how he started, turned to practicing. So uh, Zen is not about understanding, it's about practice, about attaining uh, your true nature through practice. So then that is mind to mind. Because once you've attained something, somebody else has attained the same thing, you understand each other. Just as the Buddha held up his held up this flower, Makashapa saw that, understood Buddha's mind, and boom, they made this connection. This connection that's outside of the understanding of the sutras. That's why he called it a special transmission outside the teachings. So that's a special transmission outside the teachings. And that's what I have for you tonight. Thank you for listening. Now, any questions? No questions, we'll finish.
Thank you very much, Sunim. Thank you very much. We have some questions.
Yeah. Before that, Samisha, I would like to ask Sunim a question. Like for students like Samisha, Mishram, she's doing PhD on Buddhism, and
Yep.
yet you say that we don't need this is a special transmission outside of the sutras. We don't need
Mhm.
PhD to realize the essence of Dharma. So how can she benefit from the teaching that you just gave just now?
Well, yeah, if you want to teach Buddhism, or if you want to teach uh, some of the, what do you call it, the core teachings of the sutras, then you need to understand, you need to learn
Mm,
so that you can teach it. But if you want to attain your true nature, then you have to practice. That is not dependent on understanding or not understanding. It's neither dependent on understanding nor not understanding. It's only dependent on practice. Okay. So, for example, Zen Master Song he didn't study the sutras at all when he went and did his first 100-day retreat, and then he had the enlightenment experience. But after that, he went to visit a sutra master to learn about the sutras so that he could teach it. So he could teach the Buddhist philosophies or the teachings behind the sutras. So yeah, it's not that it's no use. It's actually complementary, but don't attach to it. Okay. So if you attach to something, then that just becomes a hindrance. That's all. So PhD, very good. Education is very important. So but you have to realize, you know, how far it can take you. So, like one, I can't remember, one Western philosopher said, you know, your understanding can take you only as far as your understanding goes. You cannot reach beyond what you understand. But this experiencing of our true nature, the Buddha's mind, is beyond understanding. So if you want to do that, then you have to practice. So I guess understanding plus practice, very important.
they
Okay.
can we can do this both together, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Okay, Samisha, let's go to the first question.
The first question is, can you tell us a little bit more on the origin of Zen, a brief history of the Zen lineage?
So, wow, where do you start? It starts with the Buddha, really, basically. That's the origin of Zen. Zen means meditation. Okay. It comes from the word dhyana, which got like the sound of it got transliterated into Chan, And Zen is the Japanese pronunciation of that character, Chan, which is Mandarin, and it means meditation. So it's very, sometimes, I kind of like chuckle when people say, oh, you're doing Zen meditation. And what they're really saying is you're doing meditation, you know. So, so Zen is just meditation. It just originates from the Buddha's time. That's, he meditated, that's Zen. So then it just it got transmitted all the way down. And how it came to China, to the east, was through the Bodhidharma. He was a prince, and he was the 28th in line from the Buddha down. Then Bodhidharma's teacher said, oh, you must go to China and teach them correct meditation. So then came to China, and that's how Bodhidharma became the first Zen or meditation patriarch in China. And then all that just comes down from him. So originally, you can trace it all the way back to Bodhidharma up to the Buddha. Is that brief enough? If you want a longer history, you just look at you Google it, there are many books written on the lineage of Zen. So, but I guess we don't really have so much time to go into it.
Thank you. There will be another.
Did Dharma compose any text?
Huh?
Did Bodhidharma composed any text?
Well, there's one that's attributed to him, but I'm not even sure. That's a it's compiled by an author called Red Pine. That's just his pen name. He's an American guy, but and that's supposed to be one. It's a very thin book. That's all, and that's supposed to be a collection of Bodhidharma's teachings. He didn't write anything, as far as I know, but it's his collected teachings that his students wrote down. So you can check that out. I can't remember what it's called, the title of the book, but it's by this guy called Red Pine. Bodhidharma's teachings. Yeah.
Okay.
That's interesting.
Okay.
So the
Yeah,
next
it's a
question.
good book. Yeah.
Next question is by Hani. Uh, is this special transmission outside of the sutras still happening today? So if it's still happening today, how could we receive this?
You see this?
Yeah.
Get it? If you get it, you've got the special transmission today.
From Myong An Sunim today.
Not from me. I just copied it from Guji's Zen Master.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That's all. If you understand it, you get it. If you don't, then no problem. Just practice more, and then one day you'll get it. That's all. We all want instant success or instant enlightenment, but instant enlightenment takes time. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Sunim. Subisha.
Let's see. What are the main sutras in Zen lineage, and how are these sutras different from those of the other schools?
They're not different. It's the same sutra. The ones that we generally use are the Dharma Sutra, that people focus on, Dharma Sutra and the Heart Sutra. Heart Sutra because it's really short, but it contains the complete teachings of the Buddha. So that's all. Dharma Sutra, Heart Sutra. And if you don't have time, just read the Dharma Sutra. It's very short. It takes you less than 5 minutes. But to attain the meaning of the Dharma Sutra may take you a lifetime of practice. Yeah, so that's all.
So, Sunim, there are meditations also on the sutras like Heart Sutra, Diamond Sutras.
Meditations on the sutra.
To understand, it's difficult Heart Sutra and Diamond Sutra. So, how they understand, how they learn, how they practice it.
Well,
And it's very brief.
yeah, so You know the story of the sixth patriarch, Hui Neng. He was uneducated, could not read and could not write, so it's illiterate, basically, uneducated, illiterate. But he had a very simple life, just collecting, because his father was a minor official that somehow lost his job. So then he basically lived in poverty, taking care of his mother. His father died, and just went up the mountains collecting firewood to sell on the market. And that's how he supported himself and his mother. Then one day he heard somebody, a monk, chanting the Diamond Sutra as the monk was going around collecting some alms round and collecting food. And he heard the phrase, don't attach to anything that arises in your mind. And then, boom, got enlightenment. Then he asked, oh, who's your teacher? Then he went to see the fifth patriarch. And, that's a long story, but after some time, the fifth patriarch gave him transmission and made him the sixth patriarch. And the sixth patriarch, Hui Neng, is the most famous patriarch in all of history in China. And he is the only one outside of apart from the Buddha, to have a sutra named after him. It's called the Platform Sutra. Only the Buddha has sutras, the Dharma Sutra, the Avatamsaka Sutra, but he has one, so that shows how much standing he has, high standing he has within the Buddhist sort of world. So he couldn't understand anything, he was uneducated, illiterate, but many monks and nuns would go to him and ask him about the meaning of the sutras. Then he would say to them, I can't read, but if you read the passage that you want to ask about to me, then I'll explain it to you. So a lot of these monks and nuns were kind of shocked, how can this illiterate, by the time he was a Zen master, who didn't know how to read the sutras, didn't know how to write, how could he explain it to me? But because he already attained the his true nature, Buddha's mind. So if you want to understand the sutras, just practice. Then one day, boom, you get it. Then you understand exactly what the Buddha is talking about, because your mind and his mind are the same. Okay? Then that is your true speech, not some other professor's speech into your head. That becomes your true speech. And then you can answer, what kind of mind do you use to eat lunch? Past mind can get enlightenment, future mind can get enlightenment, present mind can get enlightenment. What kind of mind will you use to eat lunch tomorrow? What kind of mind would you do that? So if you practice, you attain that, then you can answer. Okay, so it's not about meditating on the sutras, it's actually just doing meditation practice. And one day, you get it. And when you get it, nobody can take it away from you. So hope you get it one day.
Sunim, what are these meditation practices includes?
It's simple, very simple. If you like paying attention to your breath meditation, the best meditation for you is the one that you will practice with every day. That's all. There are many different techniques, but the best one is the one that you will stick to and use. So it doesn't really matter which one, whether it's a breath meditation, whether it's a metta meditation, whether it's anapanasati, whatever. The best one is the one that you will stick to and use. That's all. It all leads to the same place. Okay?
Okay, Sunim.
Okay.
Let's move to the next question.
Next question. How many schools are there in Zen Buddhism? How do they differ from each other? Actually?
Oh, in the past, there used to be 5. And I can't remember. It's so the 2 main ones are Soto and Rinzai. Linchi School and Soto School, and then the other three have kind of disappeared. So there were five, now there's basically two. So
Okay.
in Japan, basically, it's mainly Soto, Rinzai, and in Korea, it's kind of more Linchi style, but they kind of call it patriarchal Zen. So it doesn't really differ much, you know. It's just different emphasis. Like, what's the difference between uh, Christianity, the different schools of Christianity, Episcopal, the Protestants, the Catholics, the Greek Orthodox? What's the difference? You know, it's just difference in emphasis, but they still believe in the same God, and they use the same Bible. Okay.
Okay.
Uh, Sunim, a Pure Land school also belongs to the Zen, uh, involves in Zen Buddhism,
Pure Land, Pure Land.
or is it different?
Oh, you practice, then you go to the Pure Land, the Kek Lok Sai Kai, this Western paradise. That's the teaching. It's based on the sutra, this Pure Land Sutra. You just have to
And,
read it.
and Suni, many Chinese master they practice these two together, right? Pure Land and Zen, am I right?
Great. Then one day, so Zen Master Thich Nhat Hanh, you know, somebody asked about the Pure Land. Where is the Pure Land? He said the Pure Land is right in front of you, right here and now. Okay. And then same when Zen Master Seng San was in China, one monk asked him, "Where is the Pure Land?" Because you know it's quite a common practice in China. And then in the assembly, he just said, "Right now outside it's raining." At that time it was raining outside. So it's right now it's raining. Then the whole room really got it, and they clapped and they laughed. You know, so Pure Land is not somewhere physical outside. It's actually right in front of us right now. So that's the teachings of the Zen masters. Okay. Okay. Because if you go, you think, oh, it's the Western paradise. You know, our Earth is round. You go to the West, you keep going west, 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 west. You come back to the same place. That's your Pure Land. Okay.
Okay. Last question, Smisha.
Sally is asking, in your biodata, Sunim received Inca, the authority to lead retreats and teach Koans in 2015. So quoting, what is Inca and Koans?
Inca and Koan. Okay, it's kind of like a seal of approval. You know, in China, before they had computers and everything, you know, it's like when people were still riding horsebacks. And then the emperor would make some decree, okay? Then they would do it on two pieces of paper, and then they put these two pieces of paper together, and then his seal, boom, this big seal would go right across both of them, okay? Then somebody would take this paper and go through all the different counties in China and say, this is what the emperor said, blah, 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 blah. And if somebody didn't believe it, they would take this paper, go back to the capital, whether it's Beijing or somewhere else, and they would match it up with a seal. And then if they bring together, they see, that's the emperor's seal. Then that is the, what they say, that's the original, that's the true emperor's edict. So Inca's a little like that. It's like, say, some student has sort of developed enough in his or her practice, and then the teachers who teach them are confident that they can teach. Then they give them this kind of seal of approval that's called Inca. In Chinese and Cantonese, it's called Yan Ho. I don't know what it is in Mandarin. Inca, something like that. Anyway, yeah, but it just means you have somebody's approval. Just like you get a degree from the university, then the university, boom, the university seal, University of Malaya, University of Science Malaya, University of Harvard, the seal. Then people look at this piece of paper with the seal on it. That they graduate, so they should know something about whatever they graduated in.
So Sunim,
So that's
did your income come together with a seal along on the paper as well?
no,
No. Okay.
it's just
Just ceremonial.
yeah, it's a ceremony.
Okay.
Uh, but the teachers, the Zen masters, they put their signature on it.
Okay.
So, and Kongans are basically case studies. If you've been to business school, you know what a case study is. So it's basically somebody saw an interaction between maybe a teacher and a student, and then they thought, oh, this is really good teaching. So they recorded it down, and that has been handed down through the ages to be used as teaching. So, like for example, a very famous one is the one that the Japanese tradition and all the Chinese and Korean Zen traditions use. Is this Joju Zen master, and it's called the Joju's Koan, Joju's dog. So one monk went up to Joju and asked him. Now the Buddha said all things have Buddha nature. Does a dog have Buddha nature? Then Joju Zen master said mu, which means no. So why did he say no? Because Buddha already said all things have Buddha nature. So that became this famous koan. So for example, in Japanese tradition, they just sit and they just go mu in their mind. They don't say it out loud, but they just sit with mu. And behind this, what does this mu mean? So that is a koan. And if you have some insight, then you go to check with the Zen master and you say, then he'll ask you, what's the meaning of mu? Then you give your answer. Then if he approves, then yeah, you got it. Okay. That it?
I think that's all
Great.
the question that we have today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your questions. And thank you very much for hosting.
Thank you very much for your good
Tanisha.
answer as well. So,
Okay. So we have Daily Dharma series on 16th October. Topic is what is fake Dharma, and moderator will be Brother Sharaf, and the contributors are Ben Mitru and Vivek Sharma.
Okay.
now we'd like to invite Myong An Sunim to lead us in reciting the 4 great vows as dedication.
Okay. So palms together. 4 great vows. Sentient beings are numberless. We vow to save them all. Delusions are endless. We vow to cut through them all. The teachings are infinite. We vow to learn them all. The Buddha way is inconceivable. We vow to attain it. May all beings be well, happy, and safe. Thank you, and
Thank
good
you,
night.
Good night.